Hi, in this video, I'm going to be going over the modifications I made to my Bonafide SS127 Kayak. I will also include interior views of the hull as well as links in the narrative section of this video to previous projects used in this build. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. This is an overview of the modifications I made to my Bonafide SS127 Kayak. Up in the front or the bow is where I have my Motorguide XI3, and you can see there's where I have my plug-in receptacle for that. And then also on the foot pedal I have my quick release setup, which I replaced all the pad eyes up in the front of the kayak so I could run my line through there, and then through a stainless steel track mounted loop using paracord, and then it's connected to that handle. Going back up to the front, you can see where I have my nav lights and how the wiring goes down to the existing holes where the bow strap used to be. Here is where the wires exit the inside of the hull for the fish finder, right there. And I just attached it to the pod. There's no wiring inside the pod or a battery. It all runs off the one single battery, so the pod can be removed at any time. I also have those scupper plugs that I made. Going around behind the seat to the midsection, there's where the battery plug-in receptacle are that powers the trolling motor. And then right next to that there is the wiring that goes to the fish finder as well as all the other electronics, and those are waterproof IP 65 and 68 connectors. Then I have my battery box, which I'll go over in a little bit more detail in this video. Coming around to the rear of the stern, I have my stern light. And that's it for the major modifications. Alright, so I have everything hooked up and I have power to the trolling motor, so I'm going to show you how the cutoff switch works. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. Just like that. And then just restart it, and we're good to go. All right, I'm going to show you what I have going on inside the hull underneath the hatch. So I'll remove the top cover. And then what you see in there is that little bucket that comes with it. And I didn't have to drill any holes in it or run any wiring through it, so I can use it just to store things. And you can start to see a little bit of the wiring, and I'll give you a closer view inside. I'm going to show you the wiring for the bow section of the kayak. As we go here, in between the attachments for the hatch, I have my female trolling motor plug, and I was able to run bolts through the bottom here to make sure that when you're pulling on it, it doesn't come loose. And you can see the wiring for the trolling motor there, and there's two black wires that are attached to that, and those are from the nav lights. And I ran all my wiring through the inside of the hull on the right side, and it's either in split cable tubing or in sheath wiring. And as you follow it down there towards about the center, you'll see where the sheath wiring goes up to the switch for the nav lights. And then here is where I mounted my transducer using a through-hole method, and I will put the link to how I did that in the narrative section. And then I ran both the power and the transducer wiring through the hull, up here, out this clamshell, so it will connect to the fish finder, which is attached here on the pod, and the pod is completely removable. I don't have to worry about any wiring or use a separate battery. These are the connections that are going to the bow of the kayak made by the connectors in the battery box. This is for the bow-mounted trolling motor, which is on the separate circuit, and these two are IP waterproof connectors. This is an IP65, this is an IP68. This one will power the fish finder. It goes to its own separate fuse in the marine fuse box, and then this one, the IP68, will be powering all the nav lights. And the reason for using these connectors is that I can totally remove the battery box with the battery in it from the kayak for storage and leave the wiring intact. All right, I'm going to show you how I ran the wiring for the stern light through the inside of the hole on the right side. And as you can see, I didn't need to drill a hole into the cover plate. Okay, here's a view from inside the hatch. Looks like there's enough light in there. And you can see where the connector comes through in the upper part of the hull. And then I run it down the right side there to meet up with the other wiring. This is the battery box I made for this kayak, and it's made from 2 separate milk crates, and I will put the link to this build in the narrative section. So what I have up here is a 75 amp hour battery, and over here I have a 6-bladed marine fuse box, which I have my electronics hooked into. And then over here I have the 60 amp circuit breaker that powers the trolling motor, and that's on a separate direct hookup to the battery. And then in here in the center, in this big box here, this is my hazard kill switch. And the reason I called it a hazard was because I had a pre-made sticker that came with this fuse box that said hazard on it, so I used it. And what this goes to is the load negative, which is my trolling motor, and the battery negative, of course, to here. And then I run the little wireless sensor through the fuse box. And what this kill switch does is kills all power to the kayak, and it's done with a wireless fob. And I will also include the build to that little box in the narrative section. So that's it. If you have any questions, please leave them for me in the comments. Thank you.